The famous Greek myth of Sisyphus tells of a man who is condemned to push a boulder up a mountain. When he reaches the peak, the stone rolls back down, and he has to start pushing it up the mountain all over again, every day, for eternity. That's a little like the feeling of having left work at the end of an exhausting day and not being able to point to a single significant accomplishment. I got to know Jim Dixon, the general manager of a store in a large grocery chain, who felt very much like Sisyphus every day. Store 334 had the worst financial performance of 250 stores in the division. People didn't want to shop there, they didn't like to work there either. Every day Jim came to work, he would do what he called the head slap over the same old problems. Carts scattered in the parking lot, shelves not stocked, and a messy store. Not only had he hired people to do those things, he had hired people to hire people to do those things. Nothing in that store happened until Jim told somebody to do it. Now, the really sad part was that Jim had considered himself a good grocer and was considered a high-potential manager when he was selected to be the GM a year earlier. Jim had been working 16 days straight, hadn't taken a vacation in over a year. He was pretty much carrying the store on his back. The vice president of human resources confided in me, Jim's either going to quit or we might have to let him go. Now, with all he had going on, you can imagine that he was delighted to be going to a workshop on top of everything else. It became obviously clear that Jim and his team didn't have a process for moving the store forward. So they started by getting really clear on the wildly important goal.
All right, so we're going to grow year-over-year income 10% through exceptional store conditions. Is that right?
Wait. One goal is better than the 9 that we're supposed to be working on, right?
You got that right.
We can do this?
Definitely. Yeah,
Next, they identified the vital few lead measures of store conditions. Now, measuring such a goal turned out, as it usually does, to be a little tricky. How do you measure something like store conditions in a grocery store with thousands of products? Well, they figured it out. Each department individually came up with the 5 most important things to measure for that department.
From the butcher block, fresh cuts in a clean display every day.
Fresh bread by 9 a.m.
Get the grocery shelf stocked by 5 a.m. Huh? Early bird special.
They decided to score themselves daily on a 1 to 10 scale. Then they created scoreboards to track the measures and progress towards the goal. It felt really good. The bet was that as store conditions improved, so would year-over-year revenue. They posted the scoreboards, and that night, employees tore them down. We knew then that this was going to be tough. After the first of the year, they tried again. They put the scoreboards back up. After 2 weeks, however, the 5 departments were averaging a 13 on a 50-point scale that they've created themselves. The whirlwind, the day-to-day pressure sucked the department heads right back to where they had been.
Yolanda!
Sisyphus was alive and well. Despite the scoreboards, nothing had really changed in the store.
I'm just too busy to worry about that. I've got a large catering order, and that'll take all day. And I got to do something about inventory because I'm about to run out, and I'm understaffed. There's just no time.
Despite all the work that had been done, there was no cadence of accountability. There was no regular weekly accounting to say, here's what I did last week, here's what I'm going to do this week to move that score. So, in a last attempt, we pleaded with Jim to ask each member of his staff the question,
what is the one thing, just one thing, that you could do that would have the biggest impact on the scoreboard this week?
You want me to choose?
Yeah.
I guess I could get the back room cleaned out.
Okay. And how would that help things?
Well, it's kind of cluttered. I mean, I've got a lot of extra racks and a variety of things out on the floor. If I can get the back room cleaned up and move all those things off the floor, it'll look better.
Great. You just schedule some time and let me know if you need any help. Just that one thing, Yolanda. Okay, Ted, what is the one thing that you can do that would have the biggest impact on the scoreboard this week?
I have the big promotion this week, so I've been focused on the lobster special.
Okay, and that's great. You should be doing that because that's important. But how is that going to move the score?
Oh, well, I see where you're going. Well, Bobby's been here for 3 weeks, and he doesn't know how to set up in the morning yet, so I'll get him trained.
Okay, I appreciate that. It's perfect. Okay.
Was Jim micromanaging now? No. They were choosing. He had been micromanaging, and not because he wanted to be an overbearing or a controlling boss, but because he didn't know what else to do. So Jim's staff started meeting every week around the scoreboard, committing to each other to do just one thing to move the score and reporting on the prior week's commitments. It took about 10 weeks, but the scores went up. As the team started working in a rhythm, in a cadence of accountability to each other, the revenue numbers began to climb and the store changed. Jim's team moved their total score from a 13 to a 38 on the 50-point scale. Store 334, the worst performing store out of 250 stores, went on to outproduce the rest of their zone in year-over-year sales. We were surprised at how quickly store sales responded to an improvement in store conditions. We were even more surprised at the change in morale when Jim's team started feeling like they were winning. This process not only changed store performance, but Jim's career. I was invited to a debrief meeting with the president of the division. I watched Jim report the progress of the store. He told them, things are going so well, I didn't even have to go in this morning. The president asked Jim, what has this change meant to you personally? Jim replied,
I kind of went into the whole thing feeling like I was going to carry the whole store on my back. And I was just going to ride it out until I got a transfer. And, well, now you can leave me there as long as you want.
In the end, it turned out that they were right about Jim. He really was a high-potential manager. Deep down, everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to contribute to a goal that really matters. It is so disheartening to push and push day in and day out and wonder if you're making a difference. The people at Store 334 learned that disciplined execution can make all the difference. The difference between just pushing that rock up the hill forever or taking it over the top. The freedom is in the discipline.